We've been testing a lot of Roombas in 2019, and it seems like iRobot's Roomba lineup changes pretty fast. So this is our Roomba comparison and buyer's guide for mid to late 2019. Links in the description, and let's get started. Let's start off by talking about what they all have in common. First, they're basically the same height at 3.6 inches, though the S9 is a touch shorter. They all have the same basic sensors, like cliff detection sensors, which keep them from falling down stairs. They all have a feature called Dirt Detect, which means that if they detect areas that are particularly dirty, they'll go back and forth over that area to clean it more thoroughly, which is actually a very effective feature. Also, all Roombas have a dual brush design instead of just one brush, which is something you won't see on other robot vacuums because of a patent that iRobot has on that dual brush design. And because of that dual brush design, all of these Roombas are amazing carpet cleaners. In our normal reviews, we do a deep clean test where we embed sand into carpet and then see how much the robot can pick up. In those tests, Roombas are better than every robot vacuum I've seen so far, and that includes the first Roomba released in 2002. So yeah, Roombas are the kings of carpets, which is an excellent reason to get one. Moving on to the differences, besides price, and they're all lined up here from cheapest to most expensive, the main difference is the way that they navigate to clean your home. The 690, 675, and 618 are what I call random navigation robots, meaning that they use a more or less random pattern to clean your home. They will essentially run until their battery gets low and then automatically return to the dock. The 960, i7, and S9 all have cameras which they use to map out your entire house and then clean it in more or less straight lines while intelligently navigating around obstacles. They also have a lot of features on the app that integrate with the map features, some of which we'll talk about later. On the whole, they all clean one room in about the same amount of time, but the genius of the camera-based mapping robots is that they're smart enough to clean every room in your house very efficiently. The random robots will sometimes get to every room in your house, but you can't always count on it. One difference between the S9, i7, and 960 is that the 960 uses an older version of the smart navigation software called iAdapt 2.0. The i7 and S9 use iAdapt 3.0 and have what iRobot calls imprint technology. Effectively, the i7 and S9 are slightly smarter than the 960 and have additional features, like where you can clean and schedule by room, where you can tell the Roomba to clean only certain rooms and exclude others. It also means that the i7 and S9 can work in tandem with the M6 mopping robot, and it also means that the i7 and S9 will be equipped with the keep out zones feature, which I did an entire video on, which means that you can draw boxes on the app to keep the Roomba out of certain places that it's likely to get stuck, which is one of my favorite all-time features on a robot vacuum. Keep out zones are currently being rolled out to the i7 and S9, but may not be available until later this year in some cases. Another big difference is their power. This is their suction and airflow numbers, which iRobot describes in relationship to the Roomba 600 series. So for example, the 690, 674, and 614 all have a certain amount of airflow and suction. I've measured their airflow at 7 CFM, but the point is that it's the same amount for the entire 600 series. iRobot says that the E5 and 960 have 5 times more power than the 600 series, the i7 and i7 Plus have 10 times more power, and the S9 and S9 Plus have a whopping 40 times more power than the 600 series. I've mostly found this to be true with our tests, though I've never really been able to confirm that much power with the i7, but that's another story. To be clear, this extra power seems to be most useful for hard floor cleaning, where they use that extra airflow to get fine, heavy debris on hard floors. Basically, less powerful Roombas aren't as good at hard floors in my opinion, but I have found that power isn't all that important with carpet cleaning, where it's mostly about the dual brushes and the dirt detect technology, not necessarily suction power. Speaking of the dual brush system, the 600 series Roombas all have the old style brushes where they have one bristle type brush and one rubber brush, where the E5, 960, i7, and S9 all have the solid rubber brushes. The main difference is that these more expensive style brushes are much better at resisting hair tangles than the older style. Another big difference is battery life, and here you can see that with the exception of the S9, which has 2 full hours, the smarter and more expensive Roombas like the i7 and 960 have less battery life than the cheaper ones. This is primarily because smart robots don't need a lot of battery life because because they have something called recharge and resume while the others don't. This is because the smarter bots know where they are on the map, and if they ever do run low on battery life, they'll simply return to the base, recharge, and then resume exactly where they left off later on. It makes battery life much less important for those smarter bots. You may be wondering what the main differences are with the 600 series. Well, the 614 is basically identical to the 675, except that the 614 is not Wi-Fi capable, meaning you don't have the option to use the Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant kind of devices, or to use some of the advanced scheduling features that are only found on the app. Also, the 690 is essentially the same as the 675. In fact, the 690 is no longer even sold on iRobot's website, so the 675 is basically the new 690. Moving on to the differences between bin size and the clean base. So you can see that the dustbin sizes differ a lot between Roombas, with the 960 having the biggest on-board dustbin and the 600 series bots having a pretty small 300 milliliter version. But the coolest robot vacuum technology out there, in my opinion, is the auto empty system called the clean base, where the Roomba automatically empties its dustbin into the so-called clean base, which uses a replaceable bag that can hold up to 30 full bins of debris. You can get the i7 and S9 by themselves if you want to, but the plus in their name designates that they include the clean base as well. I've tested both these clean bases a lot and absolutely love them. I think they're the future of robot vacuums, and it really feels like you have a truly automated cleaning system in your home if you have one. The S9, as you might be able to tell, is the first Roomba that doesn't have a round shape. In fact, there are a lot of design details that are different with the S9, including a wider front-mounted brush roll, which I really liked. It has a different edge brush style and a new dustbin style. The S9 really is an amazing robot vacuum. It's one of our favorites, in fact, but it's pretty expensive, which is one of the only downsides to the S9 Plus. So that takes care of this comparison. Links in the description for current prices, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars to keep up with all the latest robot vacuums, and thanks for watching.